And also it's good to, last time you were a lifesaver. Thank you. Excellent. Well, well, good. And also that idea. Oh my God. Oh my God. No. No. What's happening? Okay. Now it's good. Oh God. I think we jinxed it. Now it says that I don't have a good, okay, here is my router. So let's put it over there. It seems that maybe my internet is unstable. And then I got and this may have been my fault. Let's check. Is this going to be one of those jinxed cases? Yeah, I forgot to turn off the microphone because now it's just from the studio. Oh, now all four are running. So maybe that's what's happening. Maybe when it's multicasting on other platforms. So let me just check, is this going on? And then it gives me this notification. Okay, so it seems to be working at least on Periscope. I'm super bright. Chinese say guai, a ghost. Okay, yeah, it seems pixelated. We are a little bit challenged today. I don't know if there's people joining yet and if it kicked it out or what was going on a previous one. Either way, I just want to do a few lines of the Goldberg variation because this has been going on for way too long. The project that I've been working on as an interdisciplinary between the music, between the visual. By the way, before I'm continuing with the technology, I'm always concerned because of this warning. So yeah, I don't have Periscope on this phone. I have to check this one. Yeah, it definitely shows some kind of oh my God, it's pixelated. Why is this pixelated? Must be my end. Okay, let's see here. Interesting. Very fine. Yeah. Okay. Thanks. Thanks, Pablo. I feel like we are torturing you with all of these, whenever there is an issue, and then you come in like an angel. But that thing about the headphone is fantastic. On YouTube, Pablo, great, excellent. Good, excellent. Thanks so much. So that means it's all good, except it's a bit pixelations from internet speed. Okay, so it must be this one, which I don't know how to affect. So it should be a 4G. Maybe they're doing some network maintenance. Really? Okay, it doesn't matter. I think it's not a big deal if it's not working on Twitch, but I think also the pixelation is more of a problem. Although I don't think I want to restart again because this is more contextual. I want to work on the Goldberg variation, which doesn't really matter much whether it's visually pleasing or non-pixelated. By the way, this is also a great thing. A lot of artists are using actually the pixelation as a form of artistic expression. So with the pixelation, because it's this kind of a square, and square is really coming from Prometheus and Malevich, and the idea that it's the only artificial, you can't find a square in the nature. It's a completely human construct. So maybe we can just take it as such, as a pixelated, maybe it's a message to be creating this kind of, because I only have 10 more written pieces to dedicate to variation, which I've been completely open source, creating in public in the musical aspect and creating in public in the visual aspect. So yeah, let me try to put maybe interesting when I move the, okay, so when I move my modem away in different places, it goes down, and then now again I have 4 bars on the internet. I wonder, is it, what's the thing? It did give me the warning though, just as I pressed go live. So anyway, okay, let's keep going. As they said in that Stephen Wolf, I think is the novel by Hermann Hesse, one of my favorite writer in the formative years. And then there was this line where you could barely hear a moment in the book where you could barely hear the divine music. I think it was Magical Flute by Mozart, and I think somebody who was listening was very much insulted with the quality of the sound, and its divine Mozart, and it's butchering it and all of this kind of stuff. But then Mozart came up and said, you know, it's still me. It's still this, the content is what's important, and the shape, it's variable anyway. It can never be 100%. We don't live in the Platonic world of ideals. So that's a little bit how I feel with the live streaming, because it's at the forefront of the internet's expression, even though now all the hype is about the clubhouse and the audio. We have gone, it's quite interesting evolution. First we discovered live streaming, then we go back to the audio only, or just the sounds talking to each other without seeing each other. I think it has to do something with the inhibitions as well. Anyway, that's for thinking and writing later. Thank you for the Super Heart Award. So yeah, so I'm just going to be writing a little bit and thinking in public, and the next one up for experimentation, for thinking about, is the variation number 20, which reminds me, maybe I could, although I didn't turn on the audio, high quality audio, I think it doesn't matter. Again, we are going to follow this this rule from the Hesse's work, that it actually, the content is far more important. So let me see, where is it? See, with my organization, I think I'm just missing some genes when it comes to the organizing myself. If there was a genetical modification that could be done on me, I would gladly be a subject just to get rid of this inability to organize myself. So here it is. So this is far from perfect. This is my recording on the simple Android phone. Wow, some wrong notes. Anyway, doesn't matter. I'm messing up big time in here. Okay, finish this. Do I have another version of this? No, I only created one. Anyway, I'll be looking forward to actually recording all of this with the new microphone that I got the other day. Quite excited about that one though. Let me just check what's the situation on. Okay, so the pixelation right now is not so much, which is great. Awesome. So, okay, so that seems to be working at least slightly. Okay, so now I've started this one. This is the variation number 20, reflection going up, going down, illusion of symmetry. I literally had to Google symmetry because I wasn't 100% sure of the spelling, how many M's, and whether it's the Y or is it I. And then what's above, so is below. And again, I had to Google because somehow below, bellowing, is it bellowing? When somebody's roaring, creating this sound, in my mind spelled the same way. I'm mixing those two. Anyway, so this is the quote by Kant, Immanuel Kant. So here's what I wrote. What's above, so is below, Immanuel Kant, resonates as we go into the world between the fire and water. Between the fire and the water, I think you have to have the two expression of the same things, but different constitution. Arrangement of good and evil. And now I want to also input in here what I've been reading recently. This is coming from the Hermetic Knowledge, from this book by P. Manley H., something like that. He was involved with Masons, and he's writing about the Rosicrucians and all sorts of the symbolism from the historical times. And Toronto, welcome, Sid. Thanks for joining. Wonderful to have you. So, and what they are saying in that book, it's the history of all knowledge, something like that. I forgot the name. It's I'm still reading it. It has been a month, I think, or something like that. It's huge, and then among others, what really stuck with me, they've been defining, like always it happens, there is a lot about the use of symbols and how throughout the history of civilization, different models, by the way, that's my alarm to go to bed. So different models of belief system, we're using different symbolisms, and this symbolism was almost always rooted in the natural, in the elementals. When I say elementals, I mean water, fire, earth, air, right? And then they also sometimes identified ether, and the Chinese also have the wood. So different cultures have different elements that rely on, or different systems. And what's interesting, especially for me, is that water was in this kind of overlapping systems. I think he was like doing, what's the name of that? Comparative studies, right? Between different cultures, and water was associated almost always with the beginning of life, and fire was also the life, but it was also associated to the demonic, to the otherworldly characters. So fire in this whole evolution of alchemy, right? And you know that Newton was actually a greatly unsuccessful alchemist. Hello, John. Welcome, Hamilton. Thanks for joining. Was among many others, Francis Bacon and so many others. Anyway, so they were associating fire as the most difficult to deal with, and oftentimes would warn against associated with too much because of this powerful energy that it contains. Beirut, wow! Thanks so much for joining. We are really international today. And again, apologies about my occasionally going pixelated. Thanks so much. Great to see you. Thanks for joining. And so it's, I think it's my internet and it's a mystery. I sometimes jinx and I also affect technology. So anyway, so to go back to this alchemism, I'm doing wonderful. Thank you. It's like inspiring moment. I should be in bed according to my phone. It's trying to control my life. Who also has the phone that controls their lives? We all try to control to control ourselves through harness that is called the phone with many alarm clocks, to-do lists, which I rebel all the time, all of those. And right now it's just announced that it's my time to go to bed, but I'm rebelling, as you can see. Anyway, I want to write at least a few. Ideally, my ambitions are always unachievable, which is 10 variations per one night. I don't think I'll do that. But if I'm able to do 5, I would be a happy camper, although I shouldn't be limiting myself because any limitation leads into the limitation, more limitation. So which is also what happens with, I think, to-do lists and also these systems with which we want to control our lives, to make ourselves be more efficient, more robotic-like. And then we have to unlearn how to be robotic to become human. It's very funny how civilization is always striving different things, right? So let's see. Yes, wonderful. And by the way, it's also super cold still. It's right now in here, I think the last day of the super cold. And then we're going to be enjoying a lot of greeniness, blueness of the sky and the water, all of these elements that now I want to write about. So let's see what I can come up with. The arrangement of good and evil. So what's above, so is below. Immanuel Kant resonates as we go into the world between the fire and the water. The two expressions of, sorry, just add of the same things, but different constitution, different arrangement of good and evil. Both dualistic. How do I spell swallow? Nurtures it and absorbs. It knows better absorb rather than swallow. Because that's what water does. Absorbs it. Fire. This is a little bit biblical. I don't want it to be too much on a religiosity side of things, but at the same time, when it comes to art, I actually respect the sense of otherworldly that can be achieved. So far, what I've written in here. By the way, I also have the Audacity part of Prokofiev from the microphone. Let's listen to that a little bit if you can. Can you listen to this? Oh yeah, of course you can't listen because I've turned off I have to turn off the microphone when I'm streaming in here. Brett, welcome. Oh yes, and apologies. I still have to send you a message about the microphone and everything. Right now, actually, I'm using the microphone from the web camera that's in here. So but then also this is not a musical stream, so I think it's different. But it's Yeah, it's definitely the improvement, I think, with when I'm using the good microphone. I don't know whether we could classify it professional. Um, it was um, it was actually on a more expensive side if you are thinking, but then again, that's not a reflection of always of the best quality. But yeah, and then what else did I want to say? So yeah, it's with the sound as well. We have an interesting thing when it comes to the reflection. Sound is on. San John, a day, welcome. Nadi, Nadai maybe. Naday, right? Nadela Badens. Yes, thanks for joining. So, and also a big thank you, Brad, for the all of the amazing work everybody is doing. And I don't know, Pablo was here at the beginning, a lifesaver as always, because I almost wanted to stop this stream because of all the pixelation, but now seems to have been stabilized. Maybe the demons that what I've been talking about here with all of the writings that I'm doing are trying to jinx this moment of now. So this is a super scary situation for me. I'm writing in public, literally, and I'm breaking through the laziness of the writer's block because that's just a laziness, but at the same time, it's real. Writer's block is far more real than any other when it comes to the arts. So what I've written now in dedication to variation number 20, reflection going up and going down, illusion of symmetry, is about the firmament, but fire is the both dualistic about the water and fire, but deeply connected to the unknown. Water initiates life, nurtures it, and absorbs it. But fire is the firmament, the heart that gives the impulse and also destroys itself, lives in its own demise. It's actually a phoenix. So now I'm going to start the conversation. Charlie, Phoenix, please. The elementals rather, because I'm inspired by this hermetic knowledge and also the alchemism. This is interesting. I've always been about this for streamers, but it doesn't sound. But yes, yeah, right. Yes, it is. And also, like about this microphone, like I was really doing a bet. I was kind of like gambling because I think I've never seen even one review, but classical musicians are incredibly lazy when it comes to technology. And I've seen that a lot of the times they're just using this tiny Rode microphone that you put on top on attached to the iPhone. And while I do have an iPhone, I don't believe in the Apple. I prefer Android. It's just my ideology. So I want to have this freedom of choice, and I couldn't find the same equivalent. I mean, if I'm just going to be tied up to the iPhone, there is no point. That is the one that I was considering. Then I went on to Shure, which is what a lot of the traditionally classical music musicians are using. And within that price range, which was for me just 150 euros, I don't want to give more than 150. And that wasn't good enough for where I am right now, which is at the end of the world. Really, it's the end of the Europe. In Montenegro, it takes forever to get something unless they have it in on stock. So I'm getting from Amazon and these normal places. It's not really, especially in the time of Corona. And then I found these trust lines of microphones that were actually available. And while the last dedication is towards the musicians, the acoustic sounds, and for me that's what I need, because with classical music it's just for the acoustic, really, rather than just the interface and the mixer. Oh, Walt is with us. Welcome, thanks for joining. And from beautiful Ireland, great to see you. Thank you. And freedom of choice as well. Exactly, freedom of choice. With responsibility, because for me, I think that freedom of speech, exactly, but also the responsibility, because we can't just have unconditional freedom. We could have, though, unconditional happiness, and that's something I'm trying to achieve. Unconditional good-heartedness, unconditional humanity. Super heart. Thank you for the super heart, Walt. we could have the unconditional helping each other, right? Because why would you be conditioning? Can go down and deep rabbit hole. Sometimes good enough is good enough. Exactly. Well, that was my thinking. I went on to Reddit and then I got confused, and it's unbelievable the amount. And even if I went on to be studying all of that technology, and then something could be not compatible with my laptop or that. Oh, Pianoscope, great to see you. Thank you for joining. And also great practicing today. I tuned it for a moment. There was a bit of Rachmaninoff right over there. So it's excellent. And now we're just in a speech. And thank you for the super heart award. Christianity and the Christian God. Yeah. So, okay. So what I'm not really that religious. I was born in, Christian Orthodoxy. But my parents were always kind of not really that religious. So I don't hear. When it comes to me personally, I really love Taoism. Yes, for me, Taoism is the most. Thank you so much, Brett. I appreciate you absolutely. And while I respect all of the religions, I also want to learn as much as is possible than a religion. Exactly. It's a lot of the times you're quite correct, Lorena. And for me, I think that each person has freedom of art. Well, yeah, definitely. I would think so as well. And also freedom to choose and the freedom to the form. Because I think so many times when we have something artistic expressed and then we have the critiques and I've been the critic and the curator sometimes, and I'm absolutely terrified that I'm going to be judging something that the test of time is going to prove as right. So as right, not as, yeah, as right, as living, because the only difference I think when it comes to art is something that is outliving, living its own life, and something that is dead the moment it's created. And that it can't live. It could kind of be flashy and interesting in the moment of creation, and it's kind of a gimmick. And this is what also sometimes deeply disturbs me, that maybe we are living in this world where the gimmicks and the hacks are very highly valued, as the improvisation is online here as well. Excellent. Great. Excellent about the improvisation and about, exactly the freedom of art, what we've just been saying. Thanks for the subscription, JB Yuka. Where is everyone tuning from? JB Yuka, it's that's Japanese. Okay, so back to my reflection, and let's put in a little bit of what we have been talking about. This is an interesting experiment while I'm writing, and then we are discussing a little bit. That gives me the idea about what I should be writing about, because I think we are all somehow connected, even though we are all over the world, and there is this kind of, it seems as if there is a disconnection, and the connection is also asynchronous, because greetings, C.S. Murphy. Wow, I really enjoyed the live stream and admiring the VR. Actually, the freedom of, in your case, the freedom of movement, no gravity, no space, no, actually space and time maybe, but no gravity. You managed to defeat that, my number one enemy. Gravity is number one. Time is desperate, is number two, and space is the least of the enemies, interestingly. Thank you so much, Walt. Yeah, it's kind of stream of consciousness, but sometimes there is a bit more inspiration, sometimes it isn't. Today, definitely, I think it's because of who is joining me is directly conditional to the amount of inspiration I get. And this is something I've been getting on Periscope as well. It's really incredibly reflective. So that's exactly what I want to. This variation number 20, there is something special going on. I actually changed. I wonder if I can pull out the painting. I actually can't pull out the painting. As ever, I come unprepared because it would be it's very heavy. I have 3 paintings layered, one on top of each. Yeah, doesn't exist in VR for sure. I'd really love to kind of live in the virtual reality. Maybe we all live like that when we are not in this reality, right? Maybe VR is just kind of like a reflected creation of what's really behind, of what we don't know about. Should never be one's enemy. You'll just end up hating yourself. Well, that's on a practical level. But when I say that I hate time, it's on an abstract level, on an artistic level, where I'm actually meaning that if there wasn't a time, if there wasn't a space, and there wasn't a gravity, we would have those 3 limitations of this earthly toil, earthly coil. How do I say that? It's today I feel very kind of probably the influence of that latest book that 10 minutes ago. Really? You see how everybody is connected. I'm certain that, I've always used to say, especially at the beginning of the Periscope time, I would say that the Twitter is actually a neural network, and virtual reality is for nothing. Oh, no, virtual reality, you can touch things. Virtual reality is completely creating the world. It's actually mimicking the simulator in your mind. It's, I think, John O'Keefe. I think we have projection of the collective subconsciousness. Well, who knows? But maybe. And this is now, wow, we are now getting into the rabbit hole of the amazing conversation. Something that blew my mind completely, and I want to do an art installation dedicated to it, is that when I realized that, and I think it could be truth, that we are living in this multi-layered internet reality. Like there is a surface internet in which all of us are communicating at. This what we have in here. Hello, Sam Forati, welcome from Twitch. Then we have the second layer, which is the big data internet. Which is what Google, Facebook of this world and all of the other large scale apps are using in order to feed in their machines, the monsters. Looney Ideas, thank you very much. Appreciate the comment. And so because when you say Looney, I really love it. And so now let's get on. Yes, so that's the second one. And then the third one, we have the dark web. And that's where a lot of the, that's actually a very, I think, special kind of technology. The hackers of some years ago, technospheres, exactly, are using, and that's where also a lot of the darkness is happening, but it's also getting a lot of the, actually it's also getting all the information from the other 2 layers, right? And that's where a lot of the breach of the information is happening. Like it's in a layered world in ourselves anyway, and this the internet knows the operations of a whole system. It is exactly, everything is a reflection of the mind. This is where we get to the bottom of the things. I love this pianoscope. So what we have is, and then finally, underneath all of that, underneath the dark web, we maybe have, although this is more of like a legend and it's just roaming around Reddit and the other places, is the Mariana, which is the super intelligence, the AI with which we lost touch. Now, this resonated with me because when I was reading a lot of futurists, who is the master of everything. Now, that's an interesting thing. So if we think about who projects, then we have to subscribe to the idea of monotheism, of one God, right? It's similar to what Christianity, Confucianism, Buddhism, or a lot of the other religions are relying on. Only reality and an unseen spiritual realm. Only 2. What if there is so many? What if, but maybe we are only able to see, to perceive these 2, the face and what's behind the face, like what we have the the two sides of the coin, right? It's really how the world now has an information system surrounding us. Exactly. It's an auric field that didn't exist 100 years ago. Exactly. Auric field, I love this. Wow, Marty, this is fantastic. And exactly like that, actually. And then if we are thinking about this, if we are thinking about the Mariana, about the AI that maybe we produced and lost touch with, because eventually when you produce something super intelligent, it's going to go its own way and it could disappear from our sensors, right? Everyone is projecting, that's quite true. So many dimensions, so we have lots of operators of the projectors. That sounds like Matrix, pianoscope. Yeah, Matrix is an interesting, it's actually a Buddhistic idea, you know, more than just those two systems. I think possibly Built was designed around the idea of providing a historical record of human experiences tied to real space locations. Wow, that's interesting. Around providing history. Exactly. That's really. Wow, this is interesting, Brett. What is the app? Is it still alive? Ability to yes, believe that there are multiple and there is mainly only no, but I mean it's everybody's belief system. We started this about the freedom, a freedom of choice. So I think everybody should have a freedom to believe what they like, as long as it's not detrimental to the others. I mean, we can exactly. So I think that when it comes to the belief system at this time in the history, possibly there is a lot of the freedom, which is a good thing. And then if somebody wants to believe that there is only one reality, this physical reality, in fact, that's interesting. Atheism, atheists think that there is only here and now, and what's interesting is a lot of the times they're very ethical, respect each other. Exactly. No, but when it comes to the responsibility, that's where the respect comes in. So we do have to. I think it was a bit too out, yeah, there to catch on. You see, that's it. That's what Steve Jobs was always saying. If you need to find the relevance, the moment in history where you are going to release something to live in. The moment is the momentarity is so important. But that's a super interesting idea. And you know, oftentimes I'm thinking that all the great ideas were already created. It's just they may not have been created in the right moment. And now when I'm thinking of the live streaming, now is the perfect time for it to be living. But I think maybe the civilization is still questioning. Maybe it's at the cusp. I don't know. The time will tell, the ultimate judge, the ultimate critique of us. That we all unique exactly in different things. And that's how we should be always exploring and learning from each other. This writing in public, if you're actually discussing pagan beliefs, and who says that something is pagan and that pagan is bad, that Christianity is not pagan, that you seriously think that Christianity is not pagan in its own, in the creation. That we are talking about a lot of system, also belief system. Yes. So this is an open discussion, but I'm writing in public, and writing in public also means sharing the thoughts, right? And why shouldn't I have a freedom of sharing the thoughts of what you think is pagan in a derogatory sense? Because believe me, a lot of what was pagan was very interesting historically. And we can't just think of something as bad. Hello, Glasgow. James, thanks for joining. James Little, I think we were connected from Periscope. Of all had intelligence that bases our reality in a life world that makes a life now enjoyable, the taxonomy of AI fails to project happiness through. Happiness is only one aspect of the reality, in my opinion. Open source thoughts, exactly, and that's what we are doing in here. Wasn't and isn't pagan. Well, according to the history books, it took a lot from the pagan belief system a lot. Christianity was not just like this, created out of nothing. It took from the history, what was before. From Perry Lost World, I know exactly. We abandoned the ship that sank, and then found the. Actually, I would want to believe so better. Well, definitely it is better in terms of the crew that is, and the whole crew that's operating the ship that we call hubs. And so hopefully it's going to be sailing for many, many years. A great person definitely does not travel a straight line. Exactly. It's a neural network. Everything is really, really very, very much connected. And share thoughts. I absolutely agree with you, Lorraine, and you should always share your thoughts. But please don't. I wouldn't want you to think that what I'm saying is just pagan and therefore derogatory, because what I'm saying is derived from the books, and I'm just roaming around the stream of consciousness. Fail is inconsistent. You mean of the AI, the fail of the AI? So ready shoot aim. It's funny. Strauss, not everything can be open, so some thoughts have to be obfuscated, and that's where the dreams come in. JB Yuka, I love this exactly. So this is something I came up the other day. I wrote about it. I didn't publish it though, because sometimes I publish on Patreon immediately when I write the things. I'm writing this Facebook as well, in addition to so many other thoughts. Exactly, and the dreams seem to be behind the lock. We have this lock in the mind that stops us from accessing the dream world. The moment we wake up, it's already fading. We just are left with the sense and maybe some aspects of what we've been dreaming about. And according to a lot of psychological studies and research, first of all, and this was some years ago, I think they established that the dreams are here to normalize the reality, normalize the experiences that might have been to the extremes. So they are normalizing the extremes. And then so that we can perceive new things, okay? But for some reason, it seems that we memorize all of our dreams. This is what I was reading last year from some, I don't know, there was some article, and but then we can't access. There is this block. There is a key that we can't just get on. You have to Alexa AI. Well, Alexa AI, I was thinking actually about the Mariani AI that we are eventually going to lose touch with. Is super smart. I think Alexa is kind of gathering data, is more in the second layer of our web reality. The reality is the same. All of our reality timelines are different. Time is also relative, meaning the span of 5 years may seem like 10 to others. Exactly. We have our own universes inside ourselves. Absolutely. Thank you, Damien, for the appreciate your word. Absolutely likewise. So it's so true, really. Thank you, James. If we think about the time as well in the context of relativity, Einstein relativity, which has been proven now after so many years, and he just came in from theory, it's also true that once you are closer to the, if I understand it correctly, to the object, either a black hole or maybe a huge star with this gravitational pull, then the time is going to be going very fast or slow. Now I got confused. Is it fast or slow when you are closer to these events or places where the time space is distorting? Because time space is literally distorting under the influence of the black holes, right? Christian, that it's pagan to me, that's insulting, is no longer just. I didn't, she hinted that it's pagan. No, I didn't say it's pagan, but it's drawing from the pagan belief. And when you say that something is pagan, you are hinting that the pagan is derogatory. And historically, pagan is not derogatory. So that's, I think, where we can conclude this kind of agreeing to disagree. No, exactly, and no one is insulted exactly, because this is just a civil conversation about the ideas, different thoughts, and different places where all of us are coming from. Good night's sleep, everybody. Exactly. Pianoscope, thank you. Understand now. I thought it's all good. Life would be extremely boring if we all felt, acting, and thoughts the same. Exactly, automation. And that's also another thought I've been thinking, writing a lot about. Like the beginning of the 20th century, we have the industrial age, we have this, this yearning to become so productive. And then this yearning to be productive is going on for a long time, until we reach the point where the internet is being born. Not internet, technology, the digital life. And at that point, we are starting to experience the automation. Automation is taking the productivity on a completely different level. It's replacing this yearning for an individual to be super productive. It completely frustrates the individual that's super productive, because it can never be as productive as a robot, like with the manual works especially. And then nowadays, even with some repetitive tasks, and even with the like calculus, a lot of the accountancy and all of this kind of stuff. So anyway, this is a super fascinating conversation. Writing is called a dictionary. You mean about the words? Yes, but about the knowledge. I think dictionary has only dictionary is a list. It's Umberto Eco used to say that our civilization is built on the lists, but when it comes to but it's how we use these lists, how we put them together, how we separate them, how we create differences of different experiences is what's making it fascinating. And yes, encyclopedia. Encyclopedia is also a list, but the knowledge, I think, is this collection, because it's about curating a lot as well. So that's why curating is so essential. I think when I was in China, I realized, hello, Bannerman, welcome. Thanks for joining. And thanks for sharing your world with us. Because I watched the old Star Trek episode Return of the Archons last night, about a society where a machine had mind controlled controlled everyone to enforce. Wow! By the way, I love Star Trek. I don't have a TV to start with, so I don't watch anything. Really, I am barely keeping up with what I have right now at the phone and computers. But when I was watching the Star Trek, definitely. Excellence. Had mind controlled everyone to enforce peace, but had removed all individual thought and creativity. And just imagine that society where there is no freedom. That's exactly what we've been thinking at the beginning of this collective thought experiment. It started as a writing in public, and then it turned into of thinking in public, right? So this is the power of live streaming. Where we can have all sorts of coincidences and also differences of opinion, and sometimes kind of, feeling insulted and all of this kind of, you don't have a TV neither. Yes. So for me, it's, so I feel like very much behind a lot of what I maybe would be watching if I had the TV, and so I can't 100% relate. But I remember I was watching some of the Star Trek with and that was very, very inspiring, like all of the experimentation. I always think, why do we not have more of this kind of thinking science fiction? I think Star Trek managed to incorporate that a lot, whereas Star Wars was more about the emotional, battle with, always there is a romantic story, and then there is whether it's going to survive or there is going to be a battle of the good and evil. And I think it's not so simple. Like Norse mythology inspires me for that reason. It contains both good and evil. Each one of those gods, they have the personification of all sides. We are experiencing a little they live at the moment. Exactly. Yeah, with the Star Trek, if we lived, I always think that I was born in a different, wrong era. Imagine if we lived in the place creative genius. Thanks so much, Damien. If we lived in the world where we could, just travel different galaxies, which brings me to Asimov. Did anyone read some of his books? I thought it was quite interesting, and his use of the AI and all of this, technological merging with the society. But I still think that they are modeling. As far as I've read, and I haven't read really that much from the science fiction genre. I think it was Asimov, Hitchhiker's Guide to Galaxy. Was it Machines by Asimov? What was the other one that was kind of famous? I remember. And Hitchhiker Guide to Galaxy was this. Yes, and who else was also writing? I'm trying to remember. It was this small novelette. Oh wow, that one is really fascinating. I read what's the name of the Machine Stops? Yeah. Machine Stops. It's written at the beginning of the 20th century. It's novelette, just a small The Foundations. Yes, that's the series. I was reading that. And I remember the song, and thanks for all the fish. Right. That's from the Hitchhiker's Guide to Galaxy. Yes, Ian, welcome from St. Petersburg. Thanks for joining. So thank you. Good to see you too as well. And welcome to this super conversation about all sorts of topics. We started with, it's amazing, I think almost like a rabbit hole into the world of the imaginatorium. As I started writing, it just got more and more inspiring. And so now we are reflecting upon each other, and we are literally creating what inspired me about the painting that time, the number 20. So now I have too many ideas. Now I don't know if I should continue writing. Hold on a second. Where did I start? Because I want to actually capture a lot of what we've been talking about. A lot of all of this, the reflections and all sorts of thinking processes. So it's really wonderful to see everyone. Just to go back about the Hitchhiker's Guide to Galaxy, I remember that moment where he was a night owl. Well, I am definitely, which reminds me, it's not going to be too much of writing any longer because of the time ticking. As we've talked about the time, it would be very helpful if I had a little black hole somewhere nearby to make the time tick slower. I still don't know if it's faster or slower. How does it happen? No, it's slower, I think. When you are near the place where the time is twisted, time is kind of stretching, if I'm understanding correctly, right? And because time goes in one continuum on Earth, if there is no influence of the planet, then it's going much slower, right? Because if somebody was able to go to space, spend some time in space, and come back to Earth, the youthfulness would have been achieved. I just wonder, maybe that's why we have all of this obsession with youth, but not ability to travel to space to abuse it. This 19 Weg, I love talking about. I know, me too, exactly. Thank you. Thanks so much for being in here with me. Like, this has been super, super inspiring, definitely. Because it just opened up so many ideas, and it just fired up. Now I won't be able to, I'll actually have to be maybe writing in lines. That's what I should be doing, bullet points, and then construct, because all of what we've been talking about has been so inspiring. Like we started with the phoenix, with the fire and water. So obviously in this stream, with the configuration of people joining, we just came up all the way to the future, to the traveling to other planets, tackling upon a bit of Star Trek. Listening, the contributed, but very absolutely yes. And then also, even as a listener, I think you're a contributor because there is a brain waves. Like I think that what Jung, Carl Gustav Jung, right, the psychologist, who was the contemporary of Freud, and they knew each other and hated each other, loved each other, as it happens with the people like that. So he was postulating that we actually have the collective subconsciousness as a humanity, and because we have right now, we are experiencing through the internet, and what's that but the collective connectivity, right, which is mimicking the collective subconsciousness, isn't it? Just what C.S. Murphy just now earlier on said about all of the layers, aphorism, how we are actually connected, able to live until we all get our collective shit that includes being visited by all four presences. Wow, love it. Exactly. And then we all get to, and then maybe we can get a party in somewhere in the VR world to simulate all of that. Thank you so much for the super hard, Damien. He talks about integrating your shadow personality. Yes. And then also he has a lot of archetypes like anima, animus, I can't from memory. I think gnome, like a creature, little creature. I'm using the word gnome, but maybe it's a different word. Sorry, the small dwarf, right? Wasn't it dwarf? Not gnome. Gnome is a type of a dwarf. Then he has... yeah, that's interesting about the shadow. I know that the North American Indians, they have a shadow totem animals. They have a lot of connections to the animal world, which I appreciate greatly. And I wonder, because Jung was oftentimes drawing a lot of the inspiration from the historical knowledge, from what I've been talking about at the beginning, that has been perceived as if I'm talking about the paganism, as if it's attack on the Christianity, whereas in reality, Christianity and all of the religions have always been drawing a lot of the elements from what has been before, and it was a different belief system. We can call it pagan or whatever, but it was always different. Hello, Suyog, welcome, Mumbai. Wow, India. It's right in the correct moment. Homunculus, oh sorry, I don't know. Homunculus, what's that? Sorry, I'm ignorant in this. The experiencing the observe, yes, experiencing the observe. Oh yes, and this also brings me back to, was it Jung? I think it was Jung, that there are 4 stages of a human person. How does that sound? Human person. Anyway, that goes through, and I know that like the first one is just experiencing learning, and the second as a child, and then formative years. Then it's identifying of the individual within. And the third stage, I believe, was the one where you want to change your surrounding. And the final stage, now I'm paraphrasing, maybe it's along the line of idealist. Wanting to strive something beyond even changing the surrounding. So I think most of us are kind of in that third stage. And then Nietzsche also had all sorts of symbolism between the with kind of the evolution of the individuality. Is Ash Wednesday in the States? Yes, I actually know. I've been talking to somebody who is deeply religious and has been telling me about this. And on the Ash Wednesday, they do the cross with the ash over the forehead to show that ashes to ashes. And that's very tense as far as my memory. It's kind of troubling. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's preparing for, I don't know, to fight whatever, how many viruses we are perceiving. It's very cold actually outside, so I don't know, maybe I'm just kind of losing voice because of all of that. English is okay. So right word of homunculus. Homunculus. Well, let's learn that, and maybe I could even connect it in my reflection. Homunculus. Homunculus. Sorry. Microscopic human being from which? Okay. Thank you. Homunculus. Wow, I didn't know about this. Thank you so much for telling me. Yeah, this is an interesting. It's kind of like a fire because at the beginning of this writing, I actually started about this creation of reality. Yes. Denver, welcome, Chris. Thanks for joining. Hexing the third eye. Right. Yes. Yeah. Well, that's now from the Indian tradition, like because in India we have these chakra systems, and all of the third eye corresponding to the pineal gland. This one. Hippocampus or hypothalamus. I don't know in English as well. Truly, my voice is a bit lost today. I don't know what's going on. Thank you so much. Great seeing you too as well, joining this moment of togetherness. And yes, I actually just Googled homunculus, which is the beginning, the pre embryo state of a human, right? Yes, but the chakra is interesting, isn't it? Like you have is it 3 or 4 upper chakras, and then you have trivium and quadrivium in the ancient Greece. And I'm 100% sure that this knowledge has been just overlapping, inheriting from each other. And Reda Moer, welcome. Thanks for joining all the crowd from the Periscope, all the Periscope family. As I said, from the Periscope ship that is sinking to the ship that is about to sail. Aware of chakras, but it's Indian thing. Yeah, I think it is, right? Yeah, and but it's also what fascinates me with the. Like I've just read some Vedas and some Upanishads, the ancient system of beliefs, and of course it's the polytheism, which means a lot of gods, a lot of deities. Yeah, is it deities or deities? I don't know how to pronounce that ever. I'm always confused in English. 7 chakras. Yes, I've been practicing Reiki for 10 years. Really, by the way, about Reiki, I don't know too much. I was just reading about it. I've never did the training, but sometimes with my hands, I can actually do a bit of like electricity feeling. And then as a result, my technology breaks up. And then I was reading about it because it was really upsetting. Apparently several more people, among which Gerald and Near, is also affecting technology. If I'm nervous, my technology is going to turn off. I literally have to leave the room. And so sometimes, great seeing you too, Redamore. Welcome. Upanishads, very, very interesting. Upanishads a little bit more accessible than Vedas, I think, but it's also this kind of ancient knowledge. And when I'm thinking about yoga, I'm also practicing yoga, not as often as I would love to. And maybe sometimes I could open source that aspect as well here on HAPS. I'm doing Kundalini yoga and, thinking about all of these systems and how in India it's through the movement, through the discipline over the temple of the body. You can reach the spiritual infinity of our simulator in the brain, right? And the simulator in the brain is enlivening everything around us, isn't it? Yeah, absolutely. Always with C.S. Murphy, we enter a different world, right? Yes, I upset electronic devices if I'm upset myself. So they stopped working. Sutras, yes. Sutras, I'm actually not clear as for the sutras. Hold on a second, sutras. Let's do a bit of Googling because this is an incredibly learning experiences. This is so much better, especially because now I can scroll back the comments. What we've been, yes, sutra, yeah, that's right. Yes, so different kind of Bhardvaya Sutra. I don't think I was because they're also connected to the Vedas actually. very, very knowledgeable and very mysterious as well. This is why streetlights go out when I walk. Yes, so that means, Chris, that you are in the same in the same camp as me. I also have a streetlight randomly turning off, but I did notice, maybe not 100% randomly. Sometimes it just happens. Sometimes it doesn't, but oftentimes it happens if I'm involved with something intense. So I have to detach. And literally, when I was a child, when I was dealing with the computers, like, it was unbelievable. My computer was constantly broken. It was just stop, freeze, every single possible disease that's known and not known to the computers was happening to me. And then I was studying in America, and at one point I couldn't, like, I was losing so much time because my computer wouldn't work. And it's not only my computer, any computer that I would approach, and with that, right? So yeah, well, I mean, it's a bit scary. And then I said to myself, how much more? I think that it was, I remember this moment when I was just asking myself, how much more am I going to be torturing the computer, or computer to be torturing to me? And from that time onwards, it became a bit more normal, but not when I'm upset. If I'm upset or really interested in something, then I would have this kind of a weird happening with the computer. Gold Coast, wonderful to have you. Dimiti Candle, thanks for joining. So yeah, it's super interesting conversations, and I'm supposed to be writing, and now I have 1,000 ideas, and but maybe I should be stopping this and maybe continue writing in person, because I want to capture all of these ideas. I feel like if I keep going, it's not going to be got written, right? Because we got so many things going on in here, so many great thoughts shared, the reasons why live streaming is so revolutionary, so powerful, so amazing, right? So maybe now I'll be finishing this stream. Thank you everyone for joining, and thank you especially for sticking with me with all of this pixelation. I know that the internet hasn't been serving. Oh wow, 1 hour. How can it be possible? Yeah, so it's already 11 o'clock. Telekinesis, Pavlos, exactly. Well, telekinesis, I think I wasn't able to do. The closest to influencing the reality with my hands was probably when I was able to sometimes affect a human, but just by doing Reiki, you know, and then there would be some differences in the body. But thank you so much, Chris. So it's going to be very short. I think I'm just going to be quickly thinking, reflecting, because right now it's about the reflection. And now, because we've been talking about so many amazing, fantastic ideas, I can't do this in public, even though I wanted. It's just too many things going on. There's too many things. Exactly. I wanted to do telekinesis. Yeah, me too. So sometimes maybe we can do a collective session and try to move something around. Just prove that the collective consciousness is working. Thank you. Well, it's not only mine, James. All of the ideas oftentimes are togetherness, and because right now, especially, we have this amazing moment of the third eye is connected to telekinesis. I actually don't know. I think it's all connected together. It's not only one. I think that just like in the body, one thing, like we can see with our eyes, but if we didn't have the heart to pump all of the blood, we wouldn't be able to use our eyes. And then if we didn't have the nose to breathe in, we wouldn't have the oxygen with which we are supplying the bloodstream, so that the heart is pumping. So everything is incredibly interlaced to everything else, and it's a bit like always when I say something like that, I'm thinking of the forest. I have all of this association model of thinking, and in the forest, the trees are literally connecting to each other communicating, nurturing, or disproving. So they have this amazing ecosystem, a bit like what we had the Earth theory. I actually don't know what you mean by Earth theory, but the like an ecosystem, the sphere, maybe the sphere that the planet is. So there is a lot of symbolism in there. So anyway, I think now I'm definitely, what is so minute like space? Yes. I definitely have to be to get going because already 11 o'clock, already 1 hour of amazing conversation. I need to capture all of these ideas into the non-forgetfulness. Although right now it's already captured, but when it's written, it could be distilled, because that's also with my latest project. Although right now we are still in the previous one, which I technically finished, but I'm still kind of concluding it. So anyway, thanks everyone for joining, for being with me, sharing the moment. Earth has all the exactly, and is holistic, but it's also very, very much connected, because only a tiny dot and the universe wouldn't be able to communicate. Trees communicate via roots. Exactly, Pavlos. That is that fascinating article, fascinating research that has been proven, and it was actually recently. So anyway, thanks for joining, everyone. I'll see you next time. Now definitely finishing this and just a quick writing, and then it's off to bed because it's already and I'm not compass mentis beyond 11th something. I think it's kind of a zombie world. So thanks everyone. Bye bye. Have a great moment. Bye. Have a great evening, morning, afternoon, everywhere in the world. Thank you, Walt. Thank you, Suyog. Bye bye, everyone. James, bye bye.